Well, SB-286 has nothing to do with election codes, as David is purporting to be concerned about. You know, he is sort of a media whore trying to get attention in Orange County, trying to make a name for himself at the expense of Orange County voters. This makes no sense. He didn't have support from his own state senators, even on his own side, and he's just wanting to do anything he can to sort of break up the board majority that's fighting for parental rights.
Not sure what Min's motives are. I know for as long as I've been aware of him, he's not liked the Orange County Board of Education. He really targets us, and they're pretty mean tweets. So I don't think he's a friend of ours. I think he's targeting us for his own personal political ambitions, and I'm very surprised by it.
Introduces this bill. He never once came and talked to us, wrote a letter to us, anything else. Is being done to us and not with us. He's clearly just after us and not wanting to talk to us and trying to do this to us.
This is Lori Kaler with Costa Mesa Brief, reporting on Senate Bill 286. This is not something that we want here in Orange County. Who is it that gave us this bill? Senator David Min. Who is David Min? What do we know about him? He somehow was elected to state senate defeating the long-term conservative John Morlock with California Teacher Association and Planned Parenthood funds. Min does not have a California license to practice law, but he's a law professor at UC Irvine. Min calls himself a native of California, but he was born in Rhode Island. He's not a native from Orange County, since he grew up in San Francisco. After attending law school on the East Coast, he worked at the Security Exchange Commission and later as a securities litigator for a Washington, D.C. law firm. Min is a former staff attorney and banking committee policy advisor for U.S. Senator and current Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. Min was an associate director for financial markets policy at Center for American Progress, a left-leaning think tank on extreme and social issues. Min also introduced another legislation, Senate Bill 264, banning firearms sales from state-owned properties, which was amended to apply only to the Orange County Fairgrounds, shutting down their gun shows starting January 1st of this year. Joining me now are members of the Orange County Board of Education to share their reactions to this bill. President Mary Barkey, I know that there was an article written about you previously and where you were interviewed. Would you please share what your reactions to this bill, the author behind it, and what his possible motives may be?
Well, first of all, I was very surprised. I only learned about the bill the day before the Orange County Register called me to discuss it. So very surprised that it came out of nowhere, and really surprised it was only targeting Orange County Board of Education. It wasn't a statewide bill. I understand he tried to make it a statewide bill, but he couldn't get any support from his fellow senators. He even had a co-author when the bill started. He had Senator Umberg, who I understand later removed his name. So it doesn't seem like it's a very popular bill. I'm not sure what Min's motives are. I know for as long as I've been aware of him, he's not liked the Orange County Board of Education. I have seen tweets dating back to 2020 where he really targets us, and they're pretty mean tweets. So I don't think he's a friend of ours. I think he's targeting us for his own personal political ambitions, and I'm very surprised by it.
Thank you. We have had elections in June 50 years ago, up until the present. Who is this man to change the way we do elections? We have Lisa Sparks, Trustee Lisa Sparks. You and Vice President Ken Williams wrote the rebuttal article, which was published in the Orange County Register on January 18th. Would you please share with us why this bill for election reform is misleading? Does it make the process less confusing or more confusing? And how would this bill impact the voters in Orange County who have chosen the candidates for the last several decades?
Well, SB-286 has nothing to do with election codes, as David is purporting to be concerned about. You know, he is sort of a media whore trying to get attention in Orange County, trying to make a name for himself at the expense of Orange County voters. And that's a problem. You know, the Orange County Board of Education, basically he's hovering over the target because we're getting things right. We've approved more charter schools than any other county in our 58 counties in the nation. You know, why would he single out Orange County out of our 58 counties to change the voting election laws? You know, the voters put us into office because they're believing in what we're doing for parental rights and the expanding parental choice and rights, expanding public charter schools for parents to be able to walk with their feet to schools that work for them. We've highlighted and sunshined controversial issues that the public had no idea about, such as the California Healthy Youth Act and the critical race theory that are being implemented in public schools without parental knowledge, so that parents can have an idea of what to ask of their schools and districts. So this Senator Min, State Senator Min, a UC law professor imported from wherever he was imported on the East Coast. Not that that's a bad thing, but I'm just saying this makes no sense. He didn't have support from his own state senators, even on his own side, and he's just wanting to do anything he can to sort of break up the board majority that's fighting for parental rights for the voters of Orange County. And the voters put us in office. We've been elected in half of us have been elected in the primary in the gubernatorial year, and the other half are elected in the presidential general election. And that's been going on for more than 50 years. So this just makes no sense. It is indeed a crazy bill. It makes absolutely no sense.
Thank you, Lisa Sparks. And Trustee Tim Shaw, as a father of 5 boys, I know that you, as well as these other trustees, care about the children and their parents who desire the best interest for their children, for their academics, their innocence. How would this bill possibly impact the families in Orange County? And please share any other thoughts about this bill or about this author that you have.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's actually father of 6 boys. So
I apologize.
We added one 4 years ago. So, well, the bill. I mean, the fact that he's not applying it to other counties kind of speaks to probably his motives. If this was a good idea, why isn't it being done in all the counties? He only specifically made it about Orange County. Another part that's going to be confusing to voters: we elect our superintendent. The superintendent's election would remain in June, but the Board of Education members would be in November. So I think that on its face makes no sense. And at any time, the board could change the election to November. And if there was a spirit of cooperation, maybe he could have written us a letter or called us up. Hey, I have an idea. Why don't you guys move it to November? Instead, he just introduces this bill. He never once came and talked to us, wrote a letter to us, anything else. Is being done to us and not with us. And so I think if there was any kind of spirit of cooperation, I think that's the way he would have approached it. But he's clearly just after us and not wanting to talk to us and trying to do this to us.
Right. It does sound very disingenuous and insincere, and wonder what his motives truly are. This does not sound like this is to make things easier and less confusing. To me, this is going to make things more confusing, like you said.
I would just add that not only is he working closely with the union bosses of California, and probably nationwide as well, since he worked for Chuck Schumer, for God's sake, but also the county committee that's going to approve our redistricting, that we put forth a map that has 0 deviation that's aligned with the census. We put it forth the way we're supposed to by December 15th deadline. Well, this county committee that is 11 people who are not elected by the voters, but they're selected by school boards, are going to make a decision to not approve our MAP 5, and they've been delaying and delaying. And so obviously they're working with the union bosses as well to try to do anything to break up our board majority fighting for parental rights and sunshining important issues in Orange County. So it's just, they're kind of trying to hit us at all fronts. And we're standing tall, and we're sunshining the truth whenever possible. And thank you for giving us this opportunity to talk with you to let the voters know what's going on.
Well, and I wonder as well, do those that supported him, are they concerned about how he's spending his time? His 2 big pieces of legislation, one was shutting down the gun show, which is tremendous revenue to Orange County, and I know that there's been a lot of documentation that there's been no crimes from gun sales at gun shows. So the county lost quite a bit of revenue, and then his other bill is to move an election. I mean, we're paying his salary. The taxpayers are paying his salary, and what is his objective? Is he really solving the problems of Orange County? I don't think he is, and I think he doesn't like that we are very accountable to our constituents. You know, even during the toughest of times the last 2 years, we've never had a virtual meeting here at the county. We are always here for the constituents, and all but one meeting, we've had an audience, and we give them a forum, and they can always come and talk to us, and we listen.
I would add one thing too. You know, we're talking about Senator Min a lot, but there's a premise here that assembly members and senators from Northern California, Central California, all over across the state should be deciding when the Orange County Board of Education holds their elections. It's crazy on its face. If there's going to be a change, why wouldn't that be the elected representatives in Orange County or the voters in Orange County? Why are we asking a state senator from Chico or San Francisco or wherever to make this decision? It's completely violating the whole idea of local control and letting us decide, you know, what we want to do in our county.
And other counties that have the same election, none of their senators would author the bill with him. And that says something too, that they didn't feel that there was an appetite for that or a need for it. So.
And speaking of how he's hurting Orange County, with that other bill that you were talking about, that the gun show can't be held at the state fairgrounds across the state, but he singled out Orange County. And what I understand is it's $1 million loss every year. And so now a lot of the constituents are saying, well, we're just going to avoid anything at the county fairgrounds, given that this is the case. So we're going to lose even more millions of dollars, you know, with that single decision.
Mm-hmm. So what is Senate Bill 286? This is if it passed, would change election cycles of the members of the Orange County Board of Education from the June primary elections to the November general elections. Why is this a problem?
It's a problem because we've been singled out. Why only Orange County? It's very concerning that one county board of education was singled out. Is it because we're such an effective county board of education? Is it because we're so pro-parental rights and we protect parental rights every day?
Yes. And it's a fundamental change in voting for the Orange County Department of Education leadership positions, producing the exact problem that Min says he wants to correct. That is bringing about more confusion and greater voter disenfranchisement.
Right.
It's a problem.
And I believe that you, Tim Shaw, brought up the other issue about the superintendent as well. Would you just reiterate?
Sure. So we elect our superintendent countywide, and that would remain in the June election. What his bill's trying to do is only move the 5 trustees on the Board of Education to the November election. So if you're a voter, you would go in June and vote for the superintendent, and then November, a few months later, have to make a separate decision for the board member that would represent you. So it doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't we be on the ballot together? And one thing in reading his arguments about why this is a good bill, I was somewhat offended that he's talking about different groups of people who just apparently can't be bothered to vote in the June election. They only somehow vote in the November election. It's very insulting to people that, you know, well, these people can't be bothered to vote twice in the same year, so they only vote in November, so we need to move this election to November. How profoundly insulting. Of course a voter is able to vote in June and November. They're not so stupid, and it just really talks down to the voters, and I really was offended in reading his argument.
So the Orange County Register article that you were interviewed in, Mary, says members of Orange County School Board could face bigger, more liberal electorate.
Very interesting that it was actually the Orange County Register that brought that out. I didn't even mention that. So here a newspaper is looking at his bill saying, wow, this is really a political grab for the Democratic Party.
And it is rather insulting to the voters. It brings about voter disenfranchisement. So we've got this ivory tower UC law professor, okay, saying, oh, voters, you know, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to vote. Let me show you how to vote in the November election. Very insulting, I agree.
Yes, I think the motive is what's concerning, is what he's trying to accomplish. My response to the Register was, I actually campaign the same way. I'm not going to campaign any differently. I believe in getting out there and touching the voter. And if you touch the voter and you remind him what we're doing and how much we care about children and families, rather than the union, who holds a lot of board seats that don't really work for the families.
Thank you so much for coming. And I know that you guys are very busy and you're fighting for the children of Orange County, so I really appreciate you taking this time to share your thoughts on Senate Bill 286 and about Senator Dave Min and what his possible motives could be about this. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Lori. We also appreciate your time in asking such great questions and wanting to know what's going on. We really appreciate that.